far worse things waiting, man, than death.
You will be scared shitless.
All right, this is S. Michael Sims, and joining me as always is
Erin Dawn.
Slinky Giallo.
And we are not in agreement this evening. Which I love, because the last time we weren't in agreement, I kind of came around towards the end. So our Halloween 3 episode, I was like, this movie was bad. And I was like, all right, it wasn't that bad. But yeah, so this one, Erin Dawn chose. And why did you choose this movie, Erin?
I feel like this is a really complex portrayal of grief and of unresolved grief, the deterioration of a marriage due to the death of a child, and also kind of gothic-y, because it takes place in Venice, and it's just interesting to me.
And it's not shot in the nice places in Venice. It's shot
it's dirty,
like, old-timey, like
dirty
downtown.
Venice.
Yeah, it's
run down.
A lot of it where they shot it. So, like, yeah.
So yeah, we watched Christine and I watched this together a few days ago. And I actually fell asleep about 3/4 of the way through. I'm not saying it's because of the movie. I've been working a lot and doing a lot of things, and I was exhausted. So I fell asleep, and I woke up and I was like, did it get any better? And she's like, no. And she's like, it got worse. And I was like, what? No. She's like, yeah. She was like, his death at the end and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wait, don't tell me. And so she kind of told me anyway. And I was like, all right. So I went back and watched the ending. And yeah, I mean, the blood is very, she said it looked like strawberry soup. I kind of agree. It was the 70s. It was the early 70s. There's a lot of Giallo films Slinky can attest to where the blood doesn't necessarily look like actual blood,
I like it because it's like it actually looks like spilled nail polish, red nail polish. That's what it looks like to me. So
yeah, I can see that. But yeah, I kept waiting for the scary. You know what I mean? Like,
no,
when is it going to get scary? And the kind of scary I think that intrigued you about this film is not the kind of scary that I'm used to, or really that Slinky's used to. It's more of a deep psychological, real life kind of scary. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, and Christine and I were just talking about it. We want to watch this again. After the three of us do the show. So that we have a different perspective and that we can kind of look at it, hopefully through your eyes. Because I've tried to do that with every episode that we do, present to our audience the way that we see a movie so that they can kind of maybe take a second look at it, like with They. I said, a lot of people don't like this movie. They lumped it in with other types of movies, but if they can just see it from my perspective, maybe they can kind of give it another shot. So we will probably be leaning a little heavily on you this evening, Erin. But I did go through and, kind of take notes and watch it chronologically so I could kind of keep up. But again, I don't think it's a bad movie. I know it's not a bad movie. And so when you texted me earlier this week, so what'd you think? I recognize all of the positive things that I could say about it, which was it is definitely influential. It's high art, and it's significant, were the main things. And I appreciate all those things, all of the craft, the symbolism, the excellent acting, Donald Sutherland, but then also his lead actress. The music, for Christ's sakes. So yeah, without further ado, why don't we do what we usually do, which is start at the very beginning, which is a very good place to start.
So the film opens in England, where John and Laura live with John Jr. and Christine. And John is a
restoration architect or engineer of some type, but he's in the restoration business.
And so, that's what he does, is like restore old buildings, restore old churches and things like that. So he and Laura are inside, and Laura is looking up some information to tell her daughter because her daughter has asked a question. And John is looking at slides, and he sees on one of the slides that there is a figure in red, or there's a like what looks like a it looks like a person sitting in one of the pews.
Yes.
Um, and then suddenly he sits up and thinks that something is wrong.
Yes, well,
Is there's
eagle-eyed viewers would know from the earlier scenes that, his daughter, who's running around outside playing or kind of walking near this lake, with her brother not too far off in the distance, is wearing a red raincoat.
Yes, she's
And
wearing
the
a shiny
figure-
what did they call it? A red Mac, a shiny red Mac slicker
Yes,
that she's
slicker.
wearing. And then
The
yeah.
figure in the slide appears to be wearing something similar. So
Very similar. Hmm.
like you said, then
And then he kind of jumps up like he sees something or feels something rather. And he goes outside to find that Christine has drowned. She has fallen into the pond and actually fallen underneath all of the weeds that are in the pond and drowned. In the book, she actually dies of meningitis, and the book actually starts right after her funeral. So we don't actually get to in the book. The book is based on or the movie is based on a Daphne du Maurier collection of short stories called Not After Midnight. And Don't Look Now is just one of the stories. It's like a longer story. It's not a short story necessarily because it is a novella, So then the next thing you see essentially is them leaving. They're leaving England to go to Venice.
right. So before we move on chronologically, I wanted to point out maybe some of the filmmaking aspects of this opening scene that are kind of, I guess at the time were kind of unique. You had the kind of hopping back and forth between what he's doing and what's going on outside. And then also, like, it was visually striking because you kind of get the green of the countryside and then her red coat, and then it kind of hops back in and you see the red like a blood going across the slide. And so you really have no idea what's going on. You're just being kind of bombarded with this imagery.
Color.
Color,
a lot of
for sure.
a lot of imagery. Like a lot of like the motifs in this movie are water, the color red, and falling. Because she falls into the pond. And then there are other falls in this film, but
Yeah.
those
The
are
water
those are
is a
like
huge
the main
one
ones.
as well. Yeah, the color red and water for sure. Anytime you see water, it's kind of harkening
Not good.
back to what happened and kind of what's going to happen. So
Right, and they choose to go to Venice,
right.
which is essentially landlocked. So they're it's interesting how that's become like the solution that Donald Sutherland sees, like John sees, is like, okay, well, basically, we're not going to deal with any of this. We are going to take a plane and fly 2 hours to Venice, and I'm going to work, and you're going to join me, and we're going to send our little Johnny to a boarding school in England.
Right. And I remember commenting to Christine right after, the horrible death of this child. It doesn't do what films usually do, which is, show you the immediate aftermath, the funeral, the procession, the grieving family. It just goes straight into what's their next move, and then they kind of talk about, what they did with the kid. But it was just very abrupt.
Yes, it is very abrupt.
Which I thought was unusual. And I
Almost like
think
they blocked out the funeral.
Yeah, they didn't do the funeral. But I think maybe, I'm just guessing here, that's kind of supposed to represent the fact that he's not dealing with the
Yes,
grief.
that's
That's
exactly
right.
what it is.
That's what I mean by that.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is. It's because it's that hard cut to Venice.
Cut to Venice.
Venice. And And then, the next thing you know, they're having lunch in Venice and talking about how they've been there for a little bit, at least at this point, because she makes the comment, order me what you ordered me last night, which is implying that like they've been there for a bit,
Yeah.
right? So, these two older ladies come in, and they are sisters, and one of them is blind.
Uh-huh.
And John opens the like French doors,
Uh-huh.
and the wind, the Venetian wind, blows through and blows like a piece of dirt or what have you into the seeing sister. And so she ends up going to the bathroom. And because this is kind of a scene where you see the type of character that Laura has, right? She's a very kind person. She's
Yes,
a
but I
very
think it
helpful person.
also kind of showed what kind of person he is. Maybe I couldn't quite figure out exactly what was up with him and the ladies, because when he first sees them, it looks like they're talking about them, like that the
Mm.
ladies are. And I guessed I was like, maybe he thinks they're talking shit about them or something. It looked like he didn't like them for whatever reason. He keeps kind of looking over at them strangely, and when he got up to open up the doors, it was almost like he did it on purpose, to maybe create some kind of stir. Slink, did you pick up on that at all?
No, it's no, not at all. Not
And
in
he
that
almost
scene.
seemed pleased
There's
with
other
himself
stuff
when
that I
when
picked up
some got
on,
in the
but
lady's eye.
it wasn't that. But no, he did seem kind of irritated.
Yeah.
Like anytime he interacted with the blind chick and her sister, he was just like, even at the end when he's being nice to him in jail and he walks her home and stuff, he's still kind of
Yeah.
like, but yeah, no, I didn't notice that part. But yeah.
I didn't think I think he was just acting like a dumb American.
Okay.
Like, oh, I'm cold. So clearly I have all the room in the world to be able to open up this door. Also, he speaks very broken Italian,
Yeah.
and it was the director's choice to not include subtitles in the film, because it kind of heightens the feeling of being a stranger in a strange land,
Right.
where people do talk Italian. Jesus Christ, people do speak Italian around him, and there is no indication to the audience as far as like, are they saying something good, are they saying something nice, are they saying something adversarial? Like, you don't know.
Right.
So you're in John's place of like, God, this is weird, and so yes, the blind lady gets the,
Heather, I think.
Heather, she takes her sister who's gotten something in her eye into the bathroom, and Laura decides to go help them. And when Laura decides to go help them, the blind woman, Heather, basically says, I've seen your daughter. I've seen your daughter. She's sitting between the two of you, and she's happy. She's happy, she's laughing. And there's almost a sense of relief for Laura at this point, where she feels like there's this like release with her where she's like, oh, okay, so she's okay, right? Like, it's not like a sense of, she's not like, oh, like she's alive somewhere, right? It's not that. It's that sort of reassurance that she's in a safe place, that she's happy and she's in a safe place, which is a lot, I mean, most people who like my I have experience with this with my family, and we'll just leave it at that. But I can tell you that people who are well-meaning will say things like, well, heaven needed an angel, like
Right.
stupid shit like that, right? Whereas this crew, rather, this woman is just basically not telling her that. She's like telling her like she's happy, she's okay. And I think that truly gives Laura permission to grieve, because Laura follows not rule really, but like she follows John's lead a lot. And
Yeah.
whereas Donald Sutherland is the one who speaks Italian, right? So he's the one who's ordering for her.
Uh-huh. And she
And
has followed him to Venice after the death of
right,
her child, and her other
exactly.
child is gone. He's in boarding
Yeah.
school. So.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to the boarding school scene. Uh, do you want to see your kid before you go? Oh no, it's fine.
The Uber's waiting.
Right.
No, I must go. Um, so after that, they're walking, and she's walking back to the table, and he says something to her, and she says, I'm not okay, like whatever it is, and then she passes out. She faints, takes the table down with her. So now we have water, glass, and falling. So all this happens. She ends up at the hospital, and they seat her. It's really strange too, because she's in the hospital, but she's directly next to the nursery. Like, and I'm guessing Italian hospitals, different deal, right?
Right.
Might be different.
Their triage is a little different than ours.
Different thing. Yeah, it might be completely different.
No,
Is your
Maybe they knew she just fainted and they didn't take her back to the room proper. Like they're just like, I put her on a bench.
like that's not the pit, right? They just sat her on. They sat her on a cot and were like, "You can go." But before this happens, Donald Sutherland's talking to her, and she's just saying, I feel great. I feel good. I feel
Better for the first time I have since.
right.
So she said, yeah. So.
I feel better than I have since, the death. And you can tell that he is kind of excited to see the fact that she is coming out of this. Whereas Donald Sutherland doesn't know what this is, right? Because he's not dealing with his grief. He is work, and taking care of his wife,
which
right?
is
But he's
a way of dealing with the grief by not dealing with it.
by not dealing with the grief. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like the whole idea of this film, the reason I chose it as far as like, the scared shitless part of it is that it is about an inability to feel. And it is about the fact that if one person decides not to deal with their grief, the grief is going to deal with them. And whereas this movie manifests itself in a dwarf in a red parka, as the grief that's going to deal with you. Oftentimes in real life, when you don't deal with your grief, grief will manifest itself in the form of addiction. It'll manifest itself in the form of anger that comes out sideways.
Psychotic breaks.
Yeah,
suicidal
psychotic breaks.
tendencies, etc.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things, and that this is just kind of a 70s view of it, right? Like it's a very metaphorical way of looking at it. But I guess it resonates with me just because I know what it's like to be destroyed by grief. I know what it's like not to deal with it, and then have it deal with you. It just didn't show up as a dwarf, for me. So they're walking, and she says, "I would like to stop at this church," and he kind of like, looks at her, and then he goes, "Oh, Laura." Like as if to say like, oh, God, you're on this weird pink cloud and I'm not there. I mean, I'm slightly supportive of it because clearly you're in a good mood and I'm going to get laid later. But, I'm not necessarily going to like go into the church with you or pray with you or whatever. So he does go to the church with her because, he doesn't, they have like, what are they called? What's the currency in Italy?
Lira.
Because he has the lira. So, and he gives her the lira, and she purchases 6 candles, which is interesting because she doesn't have the money to purchase 1 candle. She has the money for 6, i.e. more than 1, right? So she lights the candle for Christine, and she says a little prayer, and John, you can tell, is very uncomfortable with all of the spirituality and very uncomfortable with like just just the whole thing. It's funny for someone who is restoring a church. He is definitely not a friend of Jesus. He's just very dismissive of it.
I mean, I can relate. I don't dig the woo-woo. I've been through
Right.
my own, religious crapola like a lot of us, and don't have a whole lot of use for it. So
Yeah. Yeah. So they go back to the hotel room and they are preparing to go to dinner. They normally eat dinner in the hotel. Tonight they're not. They're actually going to a restaurant, of which they do not really know where it is. Which I love. See, I love the feeling of just the being lost. Just as John is lost in his grief and they are lost in Venice. Like, it is a very strange place where there are parts of Venice that are so deserted and all you can see are rats and cats and water, and that's it. And there's really nothing there, and it's like not like you can knock on someone's door and which John finds out later on. You cannot knock on someone's door and say, hey, because they'll think you're a peeping Tom, because that's how the Venetians do it. So then we have probably the most controversial scene in this whole movie, and the most famous because there's so much urban legend surrounding it. But we are treated to a simulated, not unsimulated, a simulated sex scene, which for its time period was very risque.
Yeah, banned in several countries. Lots of articles written about, how shocking it was. And, by today's standards, I appreciated it. It was a sex scene, and I think they did it well for what they could get away with.
I liked it. I felt like it was very realistic.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like a scene where, they're just clamoring at each other's clothes and
right. It wasn't like Halloween
that.
3 where they're trying to hide the nipples and
Yeah, no, it just wasn't like that. It was just two people laying on a bed and kind of thumbing through a newspaper, and then one person kind of nudges the other, and then another person touches this person, and they kind of slightly caress them, and then it's on like Donkey Kong after that. So yes, 30 minutes into this film for you perverts.
So as someone who hates the woo-woo myself, I do, for better or worse, have a extensive religious background. And one thing I can tell you is that given the theme, it was very biblical. There is a very famous part of the Bible where a married couple has sex right after their child dies.
Get the fuck out of town. Really?
Swear to God. Yeah. And the message is that God gave sex to married couples to be able to use as a balm, as like a healing thing.
Yeah, I had no idea. I know very little about the Bible. He knows more about the Bible than I do.
I've had to read the Bible, so yeah. That's why I said in the Bible, no.
Remember this thing?
No, but I know it's in there.
Okay.
I'm not surprised that he's referencing it.
Okay.
At all. So yeah.
But no, I think it's a very loving and erotic love scene between two people that genuinely care about each other, between these two characters, and between also two characters, you kind of get the idea that they probably haven't had sex since their child died,
Right.
So it's interesting because the sisters, in telling in telling Laura that Christine was okay, that was the catharsis she needed to move through her grief. And once she moved through her grief, then she was able to, feel frisky again.
Uh-huh.
So there. And then that night, they end up getting lost. They end up trying to figure out where the restaurant is, and they end up getting lost. And this is actually one of those scenes that just creeps me out something fierce. Is that they're separated. They're separated by this bridge, right? And, she's like, oh, the restaurant's over here. And he's like, nope, we've been there before. The restaurant's over here. And they're not fighting, but they're just kind of, there's a miscommunication. So there's a miscommunication between these two characters, and he is walking down this alleyway, getting closer to her, and all of a sudden you hear this gasp and this man scream. And then someone says something in Italian, of course, outside of a window, and that's it. And you're just like, oh my God. Like you don't know what the fuck that was, where it came from, why. But then they're reunited and they're like, I found the restaurant. Yay. So the next day he has to, he's doing his church restoration thing and she's bored. He's lifting up statues and she is completely bored. She sees the two women, and the two women are like, hey, why don't you come back to our Pisana? Hold on.
Gotcha.
Nope, it's not the word. Come
What's the
back.
matter for you?
They are staying at. Nope, that's not the word either. Nope. No, the Piazza is where he ends up meeting his death. But okay, hold on. You're gonna have to cut all this out, Sims.
Thanks a lot, guys.
I know. Sorry.
I haven't had
about
to
it.
edit shit for the past 3 episodes.
I know. I don't normally do that, but
It's totally fine.
usually I'm pretty good about that. So
Nobody die.
there it is. Where the fuck is the never mind.
I'm totally leaving all this in.
They are staying at a word that means roughly a boarding house
Okay.
or like an Airbnb, essentially. It is not a hotel. The sisters are staying at these sort of random, almost like a hostel with no people kind of thing, and they go back there and she says, okay, so can you speak to the dead? And Heather's like, look, that's not what I do. I have the gift of second sight. It's not something I can control. And I don't believe that we should call upon our dead relatives for entertainment purposes. And so she's like, well, can't you try? She kind of, and they're like, well, no promises, but we'll see what we can do. So they go back into the word and it's just basically, it's like 2 beds. It's 2 beds and a dresser. That's it. And on the dresser, there are pictures of children. And they get to like the last picture and there's a little bust of a baby. And she says, oh, and she says, yes, he was such a gentle child. So you understand that either Heather or her sister, not sure which one, has also lost a child. Yeah. So they go into, Heather goes into a trance and you can see that she is channeling the memory of Laura.
This was Christine and my favorite part of the movie.
of Laura and John making love. That's essentially what she's doing. But during
but I mean, in the moment we were kind of scratching our heads like, is she? Oh yeah, she is totally masturbating.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure. And then, but then she actually starts to see things during this time, and she sees that John is in danger.
Yes.
And Laura comes home to John. John's at the hotel. And it's important to point out that the hotel is about to go on break. They're essentially going to go on holiday. It's December and everything is going to close down. So it gives this even more of a deserted and uncomfortable and very quiet kind of feeling in the hotel because everything's covered with sheets, and there's nothing going on. There might be like one bellman, right? But like everything
the
else,
sheets give it that haunted house kind of feel, like it's been abandoned or something.
Very still feeling.
Yeah.
There's nobody around. So
it's like there's nobody around and no one speaks English. So it's just it's foreign, in all senses of the word, right? Oh.
And honorable mention, the hotel manager is a character actor from Mario Bava's Bay of Blood.
Oh, yes.
Leopoldo Triete. And yes, Slink pointed out, he's like, that guy's from Bay of Blood. And then he looked him up, and sure as shit, it was the guy from Bay of Blood.
Yeah.
With the beard.
With the beard.
Small world, this horror biz.
This Italian world that we live.
It's the same time. It's the exact same time. So, yeah.
So she tells John, the sisters are telling me that Christine is giving us a message, and the message is, you got to leave Venice. Venice is dangerous. Leave Venice. You are in trouble. And John is complete denial about this and says, my daughter is dead. She's not peeping from the grave with messages. She's dead, 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 dead. And interestingly enough, she does not fight this. Laura looks at him and goes, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I allowed these women to influence me in some way. And he just goes, yep.
Yep. He's like, maybe I should take my meds. And he's, yep. And then he goes and gets her a glass of water.
Literally, she says, maybe I should start taking my meds. And he goes, yeah, they're right there. I mean, like he I have never seen someone move that fast.
Throws the toothbrushes out of that mug and fills it with water quicker than fucking 3 shakes.
He does. It's like when it's like when Jay Giles' Freeze Frame comes on the radio. All I have to hear is that opening chord, and I'm like, no, so that is the swiftness in which he dives to get her meds and her water, and tells her, like, kind of in the sense of like, oh, well, like, I know best, and I'm not in danger.
And that seems to me to be more like denial than fear.
Mhm.
Like he doesn't necessarily believe that these women are psychic or whatever, but he still does not want to deal with the death of his daughter. And if these women are able to talk to her or know what she's up to in the beyond, that just drums everything up, and it's in the forefront of his wife's mind, and it's something that forces him to deal more with what has happened.
And the interesting thing that Slink brought up is that you can't really tell in this film if they are indeed clairvoyant or if they are just charlatans. And so that also gives this other feeling of ambiguity, of this other feeling of like, well, I don't know, like maybe they're bad, right? Like,
plus, all right, in the timeline of this thing, they just got to Venice, which means their child has died probably not long before this, which means she's still in that grieving point of it not being sunk in, like fully saturated that this is how things are now. And
Right.
so hearing something as suggestive as that can really make someone spiral, because they're like, oh God, oh my God. So it's like, okay, so you don't know if they're friend or foe. And then it's like, yeah, Donald Sutherland does have the right idea to a point about her please not being exposed to this fucking shit. Like, this is bad. This could be really bad. So yeah. It's like, because again, in the grieving thing, I've lost people in my family, and I've seen members of my family do certain things in the grieving process that was not the smartest. And so I've got fucking firsthand knowledge of shit like this. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, this was like, oh, this is bad. It's too fresh for her to have heard something like that.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like, does that, you know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh.
like their shoes are still warm from walking away from the funeral. Like, you know what I mean? So that's a bad spot to be put in,
Right.
which, like I said, it's interesting to get that perspective, because I have no perspective on people. Like, I've never gone to a fortune teller. I've never had my palm read. I've never had somebody, say, "Whoa, well, so and so and so and so." I think, but I also think that people will. You can say it.
I mean, all right. Someone I know was so shattered when they lost their partner, that this person sought advice from someone who said they could do that service for them, right? And stuff got bad. Stuff got real fucking bad. Like they just kept her on a hook. It was awful. And to have a person go that far overboard with it and not listen to rationality and not like treat someone who is their friend and family member like a fucking stranger about it, like to think I'm the threat. Like it's wild, man. It's wild what the power of suggestion will do to some people.
Absolutely. It's one of the
Grieving,
reasons I hate
yeah.
religion, because
Yeah,
otherwise
yeah.
rational people will do and say
Yes.
such fucked up shit that they otherwise
One of the most
wouldn't normally
intelligent
do, like
people
let's
I
kill
know
homosexuals. You know what?
Yeah, was just saying this stuff, and I'm like, "Are you kidding?" So yeah. I totally get power suggestion. I totally get it.
No, so that's interesting because we see things through we see things through the lens of our own experiences, right? So obviously Slink has a completely different view of this than I would, or than maybe you would. You know, it's like we've all had our different experiences, and I feel like that moment where he just is like, no, that's his way of expressing, that he doesn't want to deal with it. He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to communicate with her about that. He's just shutting down about it, right? He's like, here, take your pills. We're done here, So they go to bed, and in the middle of the night, around roughly like 3 a.m., around 3 a.m., they get a phone call from England, and it is the the Babbage couple, the headmistress and headmistress and headmaster Babbage, the Babbages, and they say, and I still haven't figured this one out yet. They say that Johnny had an accident during fire practice, and I'm like, did they have a fire alarm?
That must be the way they say fire drill, I guess.
I was gonna say, is that how they say fire
Sure
drill?
that's what it is, but I thought they were out there shooting like blunderbusses.
So too, I was like, were they shooting? Like, is he in military school? I mean, is there? Well,
It was a misfire with the percussion caps.
Yeah. Yeah. Accident during fire is immediately what I think of as like Child's Play 3, right? Where they're playing live rounds. Oh no, So anyway, he's like, well, I can't go anywhere, clearly. So Laura says, I'm flying back to England, and she goes on the 4 a.m. and she's out of there. And meanwhile, John is like wandering kind of around Venice, and he sees Laura on a gondola, flanked by the two sisters, and she's dressed all in black.
Well, so before
like a
all this
funeral.
happens, we forgot to mention that he sees things leading up to this as well. He keeps seeing things.
Yeah, he consistently sees this figure in red.
Yes.
But kind of regards it as, oh, it's a figure in red, and I think that kind of that causes this little like flashback in his head,
Right.
And he does consistently see things like glass breaking and water and these different things. He finds a baby doll in the water, Now, completely separate from all of this woohoo that's going on, there is a serial killer in Venice who is killing people and then putting them in the canals. So there's a poster on the wall that says Venice in peril. And the police is with homicida.
You see these great scenes of them like dredging the bodies out of
Yes,
the water.
I love that scene. Very,
really cool. Really cool. I'm waiting.
Well, Slink brought up like that there's a little bit of this other movie does a little bit of a nod to it with a giallo that we both love called Amsterdam.
Yeah, well, this was first. Amsterdam,
Yeah.
it was a lot to this movie. Yeah, well, no, they didn't copy it. They took the idea that while watching this movie, I became fascinated with. What if there was a serial killer in Venice dumping bodies in the fucking canal? Amazing. Well, fast forward to 1986, we get Amsterdam, so right on the money. Yeah, no, there's so much cool stuff in this movie. Ah, I want I there. I really wanted to like this movie. There is so much stuff to like about this movie. Like it's like a giallo when you watch it. The atmosphere, there's so much really cool stuff about this movie. The actors are top shelf. The story is great. The music's, oh my God.
It's all groundbreaking, influential shit too.
Yeah,
You can
but
see
is
stuff
it
that's used by
fucking
filmmakers
boring?
later, you know?
It's so nothing happens in this movie. Like seriously, man, there is so much cool stuff. Like there's a serial killer in Venice dropping his victims in the canals. That's awesome. It's He's restoring frescoes and stuff like that's there's so much fascinating stuff in this movie to like. But
He does make a good point, and I'm going to I'm I mean, my love for this film, a lot of it is just as you refer to it as it is an art film. It is colors and feelings
pretty, it's
and
really pretty.
and the scenery, right? Okay, but it does not move at a clip. Not a lot happens. It's clunky. There are moments where nothing happens, but I think for me, I like the fact that nothing happens in this just because for me I like because it lends to the desertedness of it.
Yeah.
It just lends to the just quiet desertedness of it.
And that's another thing. What a great setting, because there's a scene where I forget what it is. The gondola leaves and he's just like petering out in front of this building. And I'm thinking to myself, when you guys were talking about this earlier, when you're in Venice, when it's shut down for that time of year, not only are you in an isolated part of the world right now, you're in Venice. So unless you can captain a gondola or unless you have access to one, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
You're stuck in that section of Italy. Like, are you just going to swim to the canal? I think it's illegal. I think you're not even allowed in those canals. Plus they're nasty. And so the thing is, you are isolated. So like I kept thinking to myself, what a great setting for a giallo, man. Like in Haunting in Venice, the whole night takes place in that one, whatever it's called, one building, the 3-story building that they're all stuck in. And I kept thinking to myself, they can't leave. It's like that's a great setting, man, for a murder mystery. But
A murder mystery this was not.
no.
So then Laura's gone. He's seen her, so he ends up going to work
Again.
like you do. He ends up going to work and he talks to the bishop who has commissioned him to do this restoration. And he's talking to him. He says, yes, there was an accident. Laura went to go be with my son. And he, without missing a beat, the bishop's like, you should have gone.
You should have gone.
Right? Like,
he's like, can I see the pieces to compare them?
right. Like he's John is so not
so disconnected
in the moment. Like he needs to be voted off the island.
Yeah.
He's completely not in the moment. He's like, oh, let me look at the what are they called? Mosaics. Let me look at the mosaics and compare them, right?
Okay, and I want to visit that for a sec, dwell on that for a second, because one of the bad things that happens when you refuse to deal with your grief is that sometimes that can bleed over into other aspects of your life and affect other people. He's also refusing to.
When he was scurrying up the scaffolding, I said, how foolish.
Right.
I said to her out loud, I said, how foolish of him.
Right. Like
Yeah, he's denying other things, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's doing weird shit.
He's
Like,
jumped into his work with both feet and he's drowning like in his work.
But he's not taking everything into consideration. He's not taking safety precautions, say, when you rifle your ass up a scaffolding. Guy.
Which was a scene that actually the stuntman refused to do because the insurance wasn't in order. And so Donald Sutherland decided he was going to do it himself. and apparently became very close to losing his life deciding to do that. So, yes, he decides he's going to climb up on the scaffolding so he can compare the mosaic, and the scaffolding gives way, and
2x4 comes
Yeah.
crashing down, hits the
happens for
building, and then it takes the whole thing out. Yeah. A 2x4 comes flying from God and hits the scaffolding like a catapult and just triggers the whole thing. And it's like a domino effect after that.
Which at
And he's
that point in the film, I would say is a much needed action sequence. You know, it's all of a sudden we have this death defying stunt that is taking the forefront. And I thought it was refreshing to kind of have something going on. It's my heart skipped a beat.
The
He's
universe
gonna
is
die.
talking
Shit,
to him now. Like the universe is trying to tell him, get out of Venice. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah.
So then there's this interesting scene where he's walking around Venice and it's very cold and overcast. Like he goes to the hotel, he's cleaning out his stuff for the hotel because he's going back to England basically. And he's clearing out his stuff for the hotel, and he goes to the lobby and there's no one there. Like the bell guy is just like, everyone's gone. Like it's the season. It's the season time. It's time to close down. So it's even more uncomfortable because not only is he ignoring all of the signs that he needs to get his ass out of Venice, but he's not listening to anything, right? Like he's just, nope. This is clearly, not only am I gonna go bother the concierge in his apartment on his day off, which and I guess because he believes that Laura is still in Venice because of the vision that he had, he then says, okay, did Laura check in? Did she come back? And he's like, and he's speaking Italian to him, and he just goes, he's like, nope, holiday season.
He says to him clearly in English. I'm sure he says it to him in Italian too. He says, it's my day off. The season's over. We're closed. And there's a nice touch too when the other guy from the lobby escorts Mr. Sutherland out of the building. He has to chain the fucking door. So it's like, this has to be a regular thing, man, where tourists won't leave when the season's over and they just come stumbling in off the street. Like, but dude's in his bathrobe when he disturbs them. He's up there talking to, I think it's his mother.
He's almost like he's having breakfast or something. He's having breakfast.
He's in his house coat.
And he's just like, no, did she miss the boat? Like he says that. He's like, did she miss the plane?
Yeah.
And he's like, no. I saw her and brr. And the guy's like,
he's not here, homie. You got to bounce.
See, I have to eat my brunch. Go away. So he ends up at the police station and talking to the sergeant, inspector. And again, it's fucking deserted. There's nobody around. Like it's a really empty police station. It's really fun. Like it's very like atmospheric. That's how I would describe this movie. Is very atmospheric. And when he's walking down this hallway in this police station, it literally looks like he's in a mausoleum. It's empty. Yeah, it's quiet as a grave in there. Absolutely. Yeah. And then he knocks on a random door. He's typing something. He hears typing, knocks on the door, goes in, and starts saying, yeah, I'm worried because I saw my wife with these two women. I think they're helping her, but I think that they could be hurting her. There's a serial killer on the loose. And he starts doing he does police sketches of these two women, and I swear to God, they just look like aliens. Yeah, they look pretty rough. They look like two tall grays. Flat out, two tall grays.
Yeah,
so,
I think I mentioned that to you in my text back to you. This movie felt very Lynchian to me, and not just because of the nonlinear aspects of it, which there's a lot, but just the unique, quirky characters. The blind lady, the midget, of course. Just all kinds of weird people in this movie. Very clever casting, I thought.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, and the inspector didn't speak any English at all. He learned all of his lines. He learned phonetically, so he has no idea what he was saying. which I love.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
So it turns out he has gone to the sisters' Airbnb. Sure, he goes to the Airbnb and they're gone. And not only are they gone, but the two women who run the front desk don't speak any English at all. So they just think he's a nut bar. So he leaves, and then it turns out, like I said, the sisters have switched Airbnbs. They've gone to a nicer one because the sister said, the other sister told the one sister it was dirty and there were prowlers. So that's interesting, right?
A little foreshadowing.
Yeah, definite foreshadowing. So he gets a call from the school, or he calls the school. I don't know what happens in this this respect because it's a different time period. But he ends up talking to the headmistress and headmaster, and they're like, trying to tell him what's going on, and he's not understanding it. And they're like, "Hey, you want to talk to your wife?" And he's like, "My what?" And they put Laura on, and it turns out Laura has been there the whole time. And, she says, "Oh yeah, John's fine. Everything's fine. We're just waiting for, she's like, I'm taking the next flight back. I will be arriving at 11 p.m. We can have a late dinner." What's that like?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So that's essentially what happens. And then I'm not sure how this next scene happened, but John found out that because of his reporting of the sisters, that they have been jailed. So Heather is sitting in a jail cell, and Heather's sister has gone to the British consulate. So,
Nothing like locking a blind lady up for nothing.
I know. I was like, Jesus, okay. And so he's like, "Well, I clearly have to walk you home because this is absolutely my fault." And so they're walking and, just talking about the life, basically, like being in Venice, and how she's like, these cats, she says, these I've tried to keep them, but they leave, they run away. And he's like, "Well, these cats are really," what does he say?
These Venice cats are wild.
Yeah, Venice. Such an odd exchange. These Venice cats are wild, So he walks her back to the Airbnb, and the sister's there. And, they offer him some water. He drinks some water. And immediately, Heather goes into a trance. And during that trance, she starts to, it almost looks like she's having a seizure. And at that point, John's like, "Okay, gotta go." So he leaves. And meanwhile, Heather is yelling at the sister, fetch him back, let him not go." And so, but by this time, he's already taken off because he wants to meet Laura back at the something. B&B. at not the hotel. Yeah. Like, he wants to meet Laura.
Not the Piazza.
At not the hotel. Yes. So she ends up taking a water taxi, and on the water taxi, they're like, "Well, I'm taking you to see your husband." And she's like, "Well, the hotel's back that way." And, and for a minute, you get kind of an eerie feeling like, "Oh, is she going to die?" Right? Like, is this what the premonition was?
Right.
But no, it's just a regular old guy. He's like, "Yeah, I got to take you to the police station because that's where he is." And she's like, "Qu'est-ce que c'est?" So she goes to the police station. The police station's like, No. Huge misunderstanding. He's walking them home. That's where they are." So she shows up like half a minute later, and the sisters are like, "You need to go get him. He is in grave danger. You have to go get him." So meanwhile, John's eye, once again, he catches the figure in red.
Red, yes.
So he's pursuing this figure in red into this abandoned piazza, which turns out is like smaller than a townhouse. It's like a place where people live, but it's very small. And it's been abandoned. And he follows this figure. Like, not only does he follow this figure, but he chains himself inside. Which is kind of, I mean, if you want to look at symbolism here, it's his inability to accept help. right? Because he's just
Right.
like, nope, not gonna find me, motherfucker. Like, I'm locking myself in. I am clearly in charge of my own destiny, and I am making the right decision by pursuing this figure in red, who I believe at this point is the reincarnated vision of my dead daughter.
And it's funny to me because the switch up that happens, because at first she's the one buying into the psychic stuff, and she's like, "Oh, our daughter," and then almost instantly it switches up for him where he's like, "Hey, hey, hey," and so it's like, it's just very frustrating.
Yeah. So yes, he locks himself. He locks himself into the piazza.
Nope, helping me.
No, fuck you. And he and pursues this figure up these stairs and into this tall, like almost like an attic
You
looking.
are way more exciting than the movie is.
Aw,
Telling us about.
that's so sweet.
Yeah, wild, wild. It's wild.
Say it again.
I said you are more exciting than the movie. Listening to you tell it is way more exciting than watching it.
I love you.
Absolutely.
You're getting laid later.
I'm cutting all this out.
Anyway, so yes, he follows and what's interesting is that the figure knows that he's trying to help because the figure continues to whimper. And it sounds like a child. It sounds like a child whimpering or like a wounded animal of some kind. And he pursues her up these stairs and says, it's okay. I'm a friend. And then this figure turns around and it's this freakish dwarf woman who is in a red parka, and immediately, and then he's kind of goes, wait,
The
like he
fuck?
says no, and then
is a meat cleaver.
and then she just pulls out of her pocket
Her little tiny pocket. Her little tiny pocket.
she pulls out a meat cleaver and cleaves his what's the artery? What's this one?
His,
Jugular.
Fibular. Yeah.
Jugular?
Jugular, yeah, fibular. Jugular.
Artery. Anyway, just is it the carotid? Is this the carotid?
Carotid artery, jugular vein.
Whatever. Carotid artery, and he bleeds out and his life starts to flash before his eyes. So he starts to see every sign
That he misinterpreted.
of his own death. Which is also that arrogance of like, I know for a fact that this, like, I know for a fact that I am not going to be made to feel better by praying. I know for a fact that I'm not going to be made to feel better by listening to psychic women. I know for a fact that I'm not going to be made to feel better by lighting a candle, right? He's just like, I need my work. So he quietly bleeds to death. And it's really cool because he kicks the glass, and then we see this montage of all the glass breaking, like all the way back to when Christine falls into the water and Johnny runs over the glass panes. Basically, it's like window pane that's on the floor, and you see all these signs. You see all these signs and stuff, and then he's dead. And then we see, the scene from the middle of the movie where Laura is riding on the funereal gondola
With the women.
And she kind of smiles with the understanding that now John is with Christine. And credits.
And there's it, like, all right. His death is shot like a giallo. It's real graphic. The effect
Strawberry
doesn't really
soup
look
for
right.
blood. Yes.
The red crayons. It's like, and then there's lots of blood. He's laying there and he's spurting like a fucking geyser.
Blood starts to leak out of the.
Well, then the shoe pokes through the window and all this blood comes down.
Yeah.
Visually,
It's
some cool,
really
shit in this
stunning.
movie, yeah. And the flashback, that whole sequence it's just like a giallo. It's just like a giallo. I just really wanted to like this movie. Like, I remember I was like, man, this fuck. Okay, shit. Yeah, that was, but like I get it, man. It just mm, yeah, yeah. Like
I
I get
mean,
why it's popular. I totally get why people are like, "Oh, don't look now, don't look now." Because it's, I just
Hmm.
yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it could have been edited quicker, but then I think it would lose some of its atmosphere too. Like I think if it was just edited in this very like MTV,
uh-huh.
like
Like it looks cool. Like it really is cool to just watch it.
to me, it's just like it's like an art piece. It is just like an art piece, and the wonderful score by Pino Donaggio really lends to it, which was funny because it was the first score that Pino Donaggio ever did. He was a musician at the time who had written it was the Italian version of "You Don't Have to Say You Love Me" by Dusty Springfield, and
One of my favorite
he
songs.
I know it's a great song. Heartbreaking. But he was already kind of like semi-famous, and so Nicholas Roeg said, "Hey, why don't you come score this film?" And the producers were like, "This guy's not well known." Can you imagine that? This person who would end up scoring every single Brian De Palma movie that ever existed was just this person who just didn't, who didn't have the experience, but then he took a chance on him and history was made, So it's great. Julie Christie is so delicate in this film. She's so beautiful and it's that 70s thinness of the two of them,
Right.
like so it's just
Mrs. Dr. Zhivago herself. Yes.
Mrs. Dr. Zhivago. Yeah. But no, I just there's a lot of things in this movie that just really really resonated with me. I think also their relationship and how he just wants to take care of her, and she's not necessarily a super strong heroine, right? She's kind of broken and she's searching for some way to feel better. And she finds it, but John hasn't had that catharsis. It's like only in death, really, does he realize that he
Yeah.
probably should have talked to a goddamn therapist at this point. But also, it's the 70s, you know, that wasn't done,
Yeah,
really.
all the 70s movies we've covered have that kind of let's do capital realism. Let's have long drawn out sequences with, backgrounds and, liminal spaces and they rely more on a visual tableau than jump scares, which can be really effective. So,
Plus, when we were watching it in the beginning, when he jumps up and runs outside to check on the kid, I said to her, when he jumps up and runs outside, I was like, there's that parent intuition. I says, when it gets too quiet, I says, there it is. And yeah, so just wanted to mention that.
Mm.
Parental thing.
So that you have been watching, Don't Look Now.
and thank you so much for that beautiful chronology. I like it even better than your Halloween 3 because I can tell that you love this movie. You paid attention. There are things about it that you love that you carry with you, and that's one of the things that I love about horror in general as a genre is just how cathartic it is, how special it is to us, how we are capable of reliving these movies in our minds. You just rattled it off like you just watched it this morning, so thank you for that. Thank you for adding perspective. And I appreciate it, I think, more now that I've heard the perspective of someone who understands it better than I did when I first watched it and has an appreciation for it. I am looking forward to watching it again with Christine, seeing what we can kind of pick out of it based on, your thoughts and your feelings. And again, the biggest thing that I have to say about it is just how important of a movie this is. Hugely influential on other horror filmmakers. From fucking Brian De Palma to Christopher Nolan. A24 people have mentioned this. It was clearly pre-Lynchian Lynch stuff, you know. So yeah, you know, as far as craft goes, I can't say enough good things. You know, it could be considered the Citizen Kane of psychological horror in that regard. So
Plus,
thank you
it
for
touches
introducing
on.
me to this movie.
Yeah, no. There you go.
No, you're
Did you hear him? I say, plus it deals with something that everybody has to deal with, man, and it's death. It doesn't matter the relative or their relation to you, but it's something everybody has to deal with. So it's like, yeah, okay. And that in itself is scary. And it's, let's see, I'm trying to think, try to sound really intelligent here. Um, and because I've dealt with so many of my entire family's gone, but I've dealt with it in all different ways, and then just yeah, so like I get both their perspectives. I get wanting to occupy your mind with stuff, and then I get wanting to just be like, oh well, what's after this? What's going on? So like I get it, and it's interesting to me just because it touches on something that we all have to deal with. You have to die and you have to pay taxes, so that's
Yeah.
what you have to do. And so that's what's interesting to me. I also find that all the elements of stuff that I like are thrown in there, which is cool. So yeah, definitely check it out. Absolutely.
But yeah, I know a lot of people that don't like this movie. You know, it's not just Slink. Actually, I do. I know a lot of people from Friends of Horror Weekly that it's just a group that I'm in on Discord, and a lot of people have, you know, that don't like slow burn horror. You know, that don't like Session 9 for whatever reason that is. I know. I don't.
over this. I should have been all over this.
I don't know. Do you think maybe you weren't in the right headspace?
No,
No.
I think it's a lot of puffery because they do certain things. Again, there's certain things in this movie where it's like no rational person would do this. And you're like right off a jump street. Hey, our child died. Let's go to Venice. No, no, what are you doing? Stay home, sit down. So it's just like, so like kind of right off a jump street, I was like, you guys, what are you doing? And then they're both just so irrational at this point in the stage of grieving that no, no, don't get off the plane. Go back home. Don't do any of this stuff. Yeah.
Well, I think it would be a good time to jump into the show's namesake, the Scared Shit List,
You will be scared shitless.
which is the time on the show during which we discuss the elements of the film that frightened us or that we find frightening or that may have frightened us had we been in the right mindset. And so I would like to start, and I would say that there are two things that really stand out for me. One is the horrible moment at the beginning when he realizes his daughter has died. You know, it wasn't the attempted rescue, it wasn't the half-ass resuscitation. It was the moment that you can tell that he understands that she is actually dead, and that he, you know, all of the thoughts and feelings that go into that. I've failed as a father. I've lost this precious jewel. It's just so fucking horrific on a psychological level. And then the other for me was, you know, it's lowbrow, but it was when he's dangling from the fucking cathedral, you know, the ropes or whatever. It's that was scary to me. You know, I have fear of heights, so it was very effective. They drew it out just long enough to kind of for me to feel all the tension involved with, oh shit, he's gonna fucking die. So
All right. So mine, um, although the although the dwarf lady freaked the fuck out of me when I was in my 20s. I mean, because I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know about that ending at all.
right.
And so when I first watched it, I watched it on like HBO in my first apartment on my couch. And I remember when that thing turned around and grabbed the meat cleaver, I was like, what the fuck? Like I was just
That weird head turn.
because
too.
yeah, it does like
Very
this
strange.
just very strange. And then it says no. Like it just shakes its head no. And you're like, oh, this is
Yeah, it
bad.
reminded me a little bit of the gremlin on the wing of the plane in Twilight Zone the movie.
Like, uh-uh. But no, the moment that actually scares me still is the moment where they're lost to get to the restaurant and you hear that person gasp because you have no idea what's happening, but you know that someone's probably being murdered. And all you hear is just auditory. Like it's you just hear it and it's like, "Oh my God." Like it gives me like little chills and stuff. Like I really really love that moment. Yes, that is my scared moment. I don't think Slink has any. Do you have it? Can you fashion one?
Aside, no, door. That's not. No, it's not scary. Um, the I guess well, obviously the loss of a child, but because I have this weird fear of heights, and it's weird because I'm 6'5", 6'6" tall, but I'm terrified of heights. And it's funny you mentioned the scene; it was drawn out because to me it was, yeah, it's terrifying. It's very terrifying because they can't reach him. He's just out of reach, so they're like pushing him away with sticks, so he swings closer to them.
And his
And it's
arm
like you
strength
don't
is
know if
giving
he's gonna
out.
keep holding out long enough, and so it's like, yeah, that's terrifying. But I remember looked at her after it had been going on for about 7.5 minutes. And I said to her, I said, cue the Benny Hill music. And she's like, yeah. But my fear of heights, totally, I get that, man. I get clinging to that thing like grim death. Absolutely. So yeah.
And then they kept showing like how far down it was.
Yeah.
Right?
Things
Right.
hitting the ground and
Yeah,
breaking
lets you
to
know for
show
sure
you
that would be a death fall.
yes, that
Yeah.
would. That would either he would die or it would permanently mess him up. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And so the bittersweet moment during which we do the impossible task of trying to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 being Shark Exorcist, 5 being, I don't know, Jaws. So
Oh, am I going first?
yes, you are.
Oh, wow. Okay. I am honestly going to give this a 4 out of 5. Because I can definitely see things through Slink's eyes in the sense that I can understand. Like it is clunky in places. It's definitely one of those movies I like wrap myself in a blanket and like watch. You know what I mean? Uh, but yeah, I would give it 4 out of 5 meat cleavers.
Okay. What I'm gonna do, I remember in the kitchen earlier, we were discussing our rating system, and I was like, I'm gonna say 2 red rain slickers. And she's like, what? And so no, after further investigation, absolutely. I will say I will give it 3 midgets in rain slickers, or three little people in rain slickers,
Yes, it's
just
little
on the
people now.
fact
Yes.
that it's there's a lot of crazy cool shit in it, man. Like the scenes where he's walking through some of the sets and there's that little couple inches of fog and the camera's above and it shows the person in the slicker walk through and it just shows you the delicate way that something will break up fog and then how it rolls back together again and then he comes through the scene and it breaks up and then it rolls back together. It's really creepy stuff. It's atmospheric as fuck. So I'd say any horror fan owes it themselves to watch it just for the visuals, because the visuals are like this movie's really, it's like you could probably put it on mute and just be like, whoa, whoa. It's really pretty to watch. So yeah, three little people in red slickers.
To that point, there's a lot of Giallo movies that have that type of pacing, if you will. I would compare it just to like recent watches. I would compare it to The Red Queen Dies 7 times. Kills 7 times.
That's why I'm the professor.
That's why
I'm the professor.
That's why you're the
That's why I'm the professor.
That's for damn sure. So the Red Queen kills 7 times. I would very much compare that to the usage of red, the castles, all of that stuff it is a very atmospheric horror film. There are parts of that movie that are so clunky and so drawn out and boring, if you will. So, but by the same token, I love it. Love it. It doesn't, it doesn't get any better than that wonderful dream sequence of the killer running down this hallway
Yeah.
with this like Little Red Riding Hood type outfit on. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So yeah, of course you do.
Exactly what you're talking about. There's a scene right down. Yeah,
So I have the unhappy task of trying to rate this movie fairly. And I totally came into this tonight telling myself I'm gonna just give it 2 fucking stars because that's how I felt after I watched it. I didn't even make it all the way through, and then I had to go back and watch it, and I still didn't feel better about it. But again, and this is why we do this, I feel a whole lot better about it as a film, and as a horror film, after hearing Erin's perspective. So I will give it a solid 3.5 stars.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's not a bad movie, man. I won't sit there and say it's a bad movie. I will just say I don't like it. But it's cool to watch.
But there's
Like,
parts of it you do like.
yeah, but again, I'm a fan of giallos. I'm a fan of murder mysteries. I'm a fan of all this cool stuff that's in that flick. I'm a big fan of. So it's like a love letter, man. It really is. I just think it's clunky. That's all. That's it. That's all. There's giallos that I love that are clunky AF, man. So it is what it is.
He's not
Well,
wrong.
and part of my reconsideration was also the research that I did today. I mean, they study this movie in film schools.
Absolutely.
Yes, they do.
And
I
there's
know it's
there's a
high
reason
art,
for
man.
that.
I'm
So,
well aware. It is
yeah.
top brow stuff.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it. I'm just like, oh, I'll skip that class. I'll skip that class. You did that?
But okay, another notch on the belt. So far we have done now 5 episodes. So yay, everything's been going up on YouTube just fine. We're on all the major streaming services for podcasting. Really enjoying everything that we've done together so far.
Positive feedback. Positive feedback coming in.
Have we gotten any feedback?
Yeah, we got any feedback? We listen to it on YouTube.
Yeah, we always listen to it on YouTube.
Every
So
Monday we play it.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just starting to take off again. I have not gotten any feedback yet, but I'm going to be putting the feelers out soon. I have a couple of social media sites that I go to that specifically talk about things like this. So, and I will let you guys know, the minute that I have any feedback at all. I'm also going to be networking with Morbidly Beautiful. I'm starting back up with them in December. So, things should start taking off at that point. At least a little, I mean, we've always been a little podcast, but
Of course, the little podcast that could.
yes. But I'm excited about what we've accomplished so far in this season, and I'm looking forward to our next review, which will be on a Giallo.
What? Oh my God. Who's
But-
who's
I
picking?
was going to recommend one.
But-
I was going to recommend a giallo.
You don't want me to pick it because I'll pick the only American Giallo that I'm aware of, which would be Dressed to Kill.
Dressed to Kill.
And that would just make Slinky sad because there's so many amazing Giallos to
Which
choose.
is scary in another way.
And so I want to challenge you.
Chlamydia.
I want
Oh,
to
yeah,
challenge you,
chlamydia.
Slinky, to pick the Giallo, the one that, God damn it, if somebody doesn't know
Oh,
what
the one that got
Giallo
me
is,
into it?
they
Blood
need
Black
to
Lace.
watch this fucking movie so that they can appreciate what a great art form the Giallo film is. And you don't have to
There's
say
three.
them now.
There's
but
three that I would say this is what a giallo is.
Yes,
It's
if you've never
Blood
seen
and
a
Black
Giallo
Lace,
and
Crystal
you want to get them hooked
Plumage.
on it, what's the movie going to be? Is it going to be Bay of Blood? Is it going to be,
It's
Suspiria?
either
What's
Blood
not
and Black
quite a
Lace,
Giallo?
Crystal Plumage, or it's Deep Red. It's one of those three.
Yeah.
Those are usually the three that those are one of the three is usually the gateway drug.
Say them again.
Deep Red,
Uh-huh.
Bird with the Crystal Plumage,
Uh-huh.
Blood and Black Lace.
Okay.
It's usually one of those three that get people into it. That's usually the gateway.
Well, we could make it a surprise.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we, surprise each other and our audience? So as soon as you decide, shoot me a text so I can start preparation. And we will be doing our first Giallo as a team. So, yay.
Yay!
Ooh.
Awesome. I'm excited. See? That's your Professor.
I gotta come with my A game.
You do.
I gotta come with my A game. Mm.
I would say Slink probably.
Well, we're
of
gonna be
those
watching
three-
fucking shallows all week, so that'll be cool. Yep.
I would say of those three, try to pick one that you're most familiar with so that you can,
What?
try your hand at the
It's gotta be Blood and
chronology.
Black Lace. I tell her factoids from that movie every fucking day.
Okay.
I don't think where I'm always like, oh, did you know fucking Thomas Reiner fucking voiced Germany?
All
Yeah,
right. Well, then you're going to be
Blood and
eating
Black
that mic
Lace.
next Sunday. So
Yeah. Ooh, I'm gonna run it. Ooh, that's exciting. Yeah, hot mic.
it's be the Slinky Show.
And what we can start doing is we can be like number fucking 353 reason why Suspiria is not fucking shallow. We can fucking mention that in there too. You know what I mean? So that's awesome. All right, that's cool. So
All
Blood
right.
and
I'm
Black Lace.
excited. Yeah,
Ooh,
just let's do it, and
yeah.
looking forward to it, and I love you guys, and we will see everyone next time. Stay shitless.